How's it going, guys? Welcome to Audio Addiction. We have a special guest. He can say his name, what he does, and all that jazz.
My name is Tyson Motsenbocker, and I am I guess, like an indie songwriter.
There we go. Well, Tyson, thank you for coming on the show. I want to give a shout out to Shane over at Adam Splitter. He had messaged me and said, hey, would you want to have Tyson on? And I was like, what type of genre does he do? And he's like, indie. And I was like, all right, sign me up. Let's do it. So, Tyson, thanks for coming on. Always appreciative. We have had just a fun time getting to know each other, for this first 10 minutes of off-camera fun. But the first question I have for you, Tyson, is I'm sure you get asked this a lot, but how did you get started out in music? Have you been in bands like growing up? Like, was music always a big part? Just kind of give me the Tyson origin story, as you will.
Yeah, sure. My dad was actually like a trapeze artist in the circus.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, when he was a kid, when he was in college and stuff. But the way that he got into that was that he played the trumpet in the band, like in the circus band when he was
wow.
Elementary
Wild.
school. So he liked music a lot. He had a banjo and like a guitar when I was a kid, and I would kind of just go hammer on it. I think I broke both of those. But he loved music a lot. My mom is just kind of like a creative person in general, and I had like really bad attention deficit disorder. Like, I had a learning disability, so I
Gotcha.
was kind of all over the place all the time. And I think my folks were just trying to like find something for me to do, and they found that creative things, or like specifically music, if they could like give me a guitar and I would just kind of disappear for a while. And I think it was sort of like a relief for them. So so that was kind of how I started. But I started playing guitar at like 8 years old.
Wow, awesome.
And then wrote songs all through high school, and was in bands in college and stuff, and then started touring when I was like 23, 24, something like that, and been doing it since then.
There we go. Well, Tyson, in terms of like the bands, and obviously, we'll be talking about influences a little later on. Was it always your point to kind of do the solo project thing, or did you start out in bands and you're like, yeah, I don't know if this is for me, kind of a thing? Like, maybe I'm just, maybe I like to just kind of hold the reins in terms of the band. And I feel that personally because, much like doing YouTube, I'm the only one behind the scenes, pulling all the strings, So, in regards to doing, Tyson Motsenbocker, like, in regards to just doing solo music, was that always like the forethought, or do you feel like sometimes because you do the solo music, you're like, man, a band thing would be great where I could like maybe take off a little bit less responsibility for me, or do you like the challenge of having to be a solo artist and be like, okay, what can I do here? Like, what can I do here? What are we feeling here? And then like you just look and there's no one else, it's just you. So, you take a mirror out or you take your phone out and you're like, what can I do differently? So does that come to mind to you, Tyson, or not as much?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's not, honestly, I think the bands that I was in I was always the one that was kind of like driving the ship anyway.
Okay.
It was like, I was always like kind of, although it is nice to have like people that are, it is nice to have people that are like, in the thing with you. I do miss that a lot. I miss the collaboration of it. And I mean, what I'm doing now, I have a band now that plays with me, and they're really involved, and especially like there's two of them in particular that are really involved, that are helping me write stuff, and are involved in the business side of things and all that. So, but I do, it is like playing solo, especially like a lot of the touring that I've done, especially the big tours.
Sure.
Like, I'm just playing by myself, and that gets really old. It's a lot more fun being in a band than it is like being a solo artist, I think.
Yeah, I would argue that, and I also love when a solo artist takes like a band on tour. Like, they have like a backing band. Like, one person I can think of right off the top of my head was I saw Ryan Key of Yellow Card, and he had a band with him, and I feel like the songs itself, like his material, would probably not be as strong live if it was just him. And that's not to, discount him at all, because Yellow Card, as being a young emo kid, at one point in
Hmm.
my life, I really loved Yellow Card. And so, I do respect that. But I also like when, bands take on the challenge of just themselves. I think that's a really cool thing to see. And so, I feel like sometimes if there's an opportunity for, it to just be someone solo, I think it's like really like beautiful and natural that it's just one person and they're just like filling the room with their music and their sound, and that's awesome. But then there's just like a whole nother energy to having that live band and seeing like the backing band and seeing a little bit more like layers and more textures and just a little bit more, even to the point where maybe some of the members start singing or something like that. It just adds to that whole like show appeal as well. So I could definitely see both sides of it, and I would be curious to see you play solo versus obviously in a band as well. So I'll maybe, fingers crossed, Philadelphia is on the list to come out to. But once I do, I will come out and see you, Tyson.
There you go. Awesome.
The next question I have for you, Tyson, as well, kind of in that, anthology story. You signed to Tooth and Nail Records. I'm curious how that came to be. I always love when bands have this, interesting story behind, getting signed to a label, because, nothing is, I think nothing, at least from my opinion, being a fan and seeing a band get signed, like, it's just like, you feel that vindication for them that they're like, they worked hard to get here. So that's awesome. So, how did Tooth and Nail, I guess, come across your music and then, ultimately sign you?
Yeah. Well, I started my first record, my first LP. It's called Letters to Lost Loves, and I made that. I like kickstarted it, so I like
Oh,
fundraised
very
it
cool.
all on
Awesome.
myself, and then I made that record with a friend. We just like rented this place in Victoria, BC for a month and like made it there. And we sent it out. I started working with a new manager right after that, and we sent it out to all the labels and stuff. And we had actually like quite a bit of interest from a bunch of different places. And I sort of thought like Tooth and Nail would not be the place where we would land.
Okay.
Just because historically it's been a little bit louder, especially than that record was. This record that I'm putting out now, Milk Teeth, is actually a lot louder. It's got a lot more noise on it, a lot more like electric guitars and
Very cool.
big
Okay.
drums and stuff
Yep.
like that. But historically, I was like way more in the singer songwriter vein. So there have been singer songwriters on Tooth and Nail for a long time, but
Mm-hmm.
that wasn't like what I thought of them for. I was like,
Sure.
this is way more of the Under Oath like MXPX label.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough.
And yeah, so I think it was kind of like a cold email from my management company, and they listened to it and they loved the record, and it became like really clear that they were. I think like for me, the people are the most important part of
Sure.
anything,
Yeah.
and the people there have become really, they've become like family to me. I played actually Brandon, who started Tooth and Nail. I played in his wedding. I like
Oh.
played his wife down the aisle.
Wow.
So, they're all very dear people to me, and so I've had a great relationship with them.
And that's great. You always like to hear those success stories of bands, and, obviously your artistry as well to, be on Tooth and Nail. And I think they always surprise me with the artists that they sign sometimes. You're just like, you look at it from an outsider's perspective and you're like, I would have never expected that, but I like the curveball. I might be in the minority on that, certainly, but like I like when a label just kind of like, you can tell that they love the band and it might not necessarily be in their wheelhouse, but they're like, we're gonna try this, we're gonna do it. And I think that I got to give a lot of respect to them. And much like you said, they're very much to me as well, like that Under Oath, like I know at some point or another, like, As Cities Burn, like, a bunch of other bands that I grew up listening to, still listen to, obviously, but I think of them as being that type of label. So whenever whenever I get emails from Tooth and Nail about like artists that they have on their label, it just always surprises me. And when obviously I got the email from Shane about you, I was like, yeah, I got to do this. This is like definitely in my wheelhouse, and I'm very surprised that they are trying to branch out into that. So much love to Tooth and Nail. Always love it. But the next question I have for you, Tyson, you did talk about your new album that's going to be coming out on September the 23rd, called Milk Teeth. How was that process? I'm not entirely sure of, what the writing frame was for that, but I imagine it was much during the time of, the years of 2020 and 2021,
Hmm.
when a certain thing happened that, we all went through, certainly. Um,
Yep.
how does it finally feel that, like, we're on the horizon of it being out, within the next month? How vindicating is that to you that this album is finally going to be released? Because I don't know if it got delayed because of COVID or not, but you know, how does it feel for you that it's like it's going to be tangible? People are going to be able to pick it up and listen to it and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, it feels amazing. I mean, the last record that I made, we released it on Valentine's Day 2020, so it was
Just
we were
before.
basically. I mean, we were on the road, so we were. I was out on tour with this band called Colony House, and we were. I think we were like 12, maybe like 15 shows in, and I was doing like 2 months with them, and then I had a headline tour after that, and then I had another support tour after that. So
Wow.
it was like kind of 2 years of touring, and then I was gonna release that album. I was gonna tour it, and then I was gonna get married, and then I was gonna make this record, and so. And I kind of had like some of the songs to this record already done then, uh, but we got sent home like halfway through that first tour,
Hmm.
and then my wife is Canadian, so she got stuck on the other side of the border to Canada
Oh my gosh.
for like
Oh man.
a year. Yeah, so COVID was crazy because it shut my whole record down, and then the whole touring cycle, and then it basically like locked my fiance in Canada for a year. So
Wow.
um, we were, I was down here in California, and I was like, I had all these songs, and I had a lot of time to think about the future. Basically, it's
Sure.
like, well,
Yeah.
what it was being pulled out of this, like the plans that I had, and sort of the feelings of like this being out of control, what the future will bring, and I started thinking about my own childhood a lot, and then my own, my future and my adulthood, and all these pieces in between. And so that was getting all that stuff done, and then the process of making the record was just a lot of fun. Like, it just felt really great, and um, finishing it and getting it finally out here, it's like it kind of feels surreal in a way, because in some ways I feel like I just put the last one out, because the last few years have
Sure.
been like, it's been 2 years of nothing, and in reality, it just, to me, and I think for a lot of people, it just feels like those years like don't really exist. It's like
Yeah.
sort of 2 years of nothing. It's like I'm just sort of picking up right where I left off in a way. So yeah.
No, I certainly feel the disappearance of the last 2 years. I think the only thing that really kind of grounds me in the fact that those 2 years exist is that I think I worked about as hard as I've ever worked doing YouTube for those two
Mm,
years, just
yeah.
because bands were at home and weren't able
Mm-hmm.
to do anything. So my inbox was blowing up. But
Yeah.
that is honestly the only real reason or real tangible evidence that I knew that those 2 years existed. Obviously, lovely interviews during that time. I don't want to discount anything on there, but yeah, I think I think it definitely shows in the writing of Milk Teeth. Certainly, I had a chance to listen to probably about halfway through the record now at this point, and gonna listen to the other half. Probably as soon as we get off. And I was just like, you can resonate with some of those feelings and those emotions that you certainly felt in it, and not knowing really much of your music beyond just listening to Milk Teeth. I was like, there's just so much heart in it that I obviously wanted to share with my fan base, and hope that people go check out, links below,
Yeah.
go check it out. But for me, it was like, so I think it's so beautifully written, but also in the same sense, like, you can hear some of the, like, the emotions that I think most of us can argue we felt at some point throughout that, throughout those years and stuff like that. So I want to say, like, it definitely translates. And, I think that, people should definitely go check it out. And, obviously, as I mentioned before, it'll be down below. But the kind of follow-up question I have for you, Tyson, in regards to Milk Teeth, I imagine this is like kind of similarly to picking a favorite child, but do you have a song that you feel like resonates the most with you and you'd want, the people that are listening to go check out?
That's so funny that you asked that. Yeah, I think there's there are two songs in particular that that felt like they kind of came out of like it almost feels like I didn't write them, if that makes sense. Like they kind of
Okay,
feel like
yeah,
they
yeah,
came
yeah.
out of the fog to me. There's one song called "Give Up" that that I really love a lot, and it's a song about like getting your heart broken, but from the perspective of the person that is doing the breaking of the heart.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that that was like there was a I think like the whole record, like I said, is about growing up,
Yeah.
and I think that part of growing up is like taking responsibility. And there were just some times in my life where I was like pretty reckless in relationships with other people, and it's me basically like being 100% like trying to picture myself from the other person's perspective and
Hmm.
all of that like reckless like messiness.
Sure. Yeah.
And I love that song because it feels honest. It feels honest about me from me, and in sort of one of my more ugly moments. And I like things that are telling the truth, and I think that song's telling the truth. And then the very last song on the record, I just love it so much. It's called "Time Is a One Way Mirror," and it's about looking back, like kind of trying to speak to your past self. And there was this when I was a kid, we used to like go run around this gymnastics gym,
Yeah.
and there was
Yeah.
a like with the poles and the pommel horses and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And there was a one-way mirror in there so that like the judges and coaches could like go in there and like watch the I don't totally understand what it was for, but I think there's something in like judging gymnastics where they like hide to watch.
Okay.
Um, and uh, I just remember like going in there and like watching my friends run around this like gym and this feeling of like full connection and also complete disconnection from them. Like I can see them, they're right there, but I can't communicate with them.
Sure.
They don't
Yeah.
even know I'm here. And that's what I think what a lot of like memory it feels like is this thing of like I'm right there with it. I can remember what the room smelled like, but I can't tell myself to do something differently. And um, the end of that song is like the whole song is basically it's in 6/8, so it's like a waltz, 1, 2,
Yeah.
3, 4, 5, 6. And then at the very end of it is it's basically this thing about how like the about like kind of the messiness of the past and the confusion of that, and the drums come in like this really weird straight thing that lines up beautifully, but it doesn't. The drummer who played on this, his name is James McAllister. He's just like a genius, I think, and it's this moment that like kind of perfectly musically for me it musically
Hmm.
summarizes the whole album in a way that I don't think words could do, and I think it's a perfect closing for the album, and that's another favorite moment for me.
I do love when bands kind of take that thought process of trying to really collectively arrange the songs in a structure that would work well with the story that they're trying to you know say. And so,
Mm-hmm.
thus far, again, being halfway through the record, like, I can tell that there's some sort of, theming. And in the email that Shane sent over, it's, you said you tried to make this album as a fear of adulthood. And so
Mm-hmm.
I do find that there's a lot of like stories that, obviously I don't live in your shoes, but I can certainly resonate with some of the feelings or the emotions that
Mm-hmm.
like that I've personally been through and that I've kind of gone through myself. And so I think there's a lot of points in the record thus far, and I'm obviously excited to get to the end, but
Mm-hmm.
that I really kind of like you said, looked into the mirror and said like, okay, well, these are things that Tyson's experienced. Like now might be, the time for me to reflect on,
Mm-hmm.
some of the things that I've kind of gone through or experienced or stuff like that. I got to resonate a lot with, Give Up. That one, just felt
Mm-hmm.
very much, I've definitely been in that position before, and, to kind of hear that and to feel those emotions, like where was very interesting, obviously from a listener perspective, but just personally, as a person, as like I can feel that emotion or that feeling and being in that spot. And you were talking about like, I can remember the smell of the room, I can remember this thing, and like it's just weird how music has that like flash flood of effect of your mind where you're like, I
Hmm.
remember that, I can remember a memory where that happened, and
Right.
I've been in that position. So I think there's going to be a lot of correlation with the way that people feel, and in regards to I hope that people kind of reflect on it, because I think that it definitely took me you know halfway through the record to be like, okay, like there's a lot of reflection points that maybe I need to take a look at as a
Yeah.
person. And so I hope that other people find that same sort of I don't want to say vindication, but that same sort of ideology, that like maybe it's good to take those moments to like reflect, and it doesn't necessarily take like someone to create an album for you to reflect on some of the choices that you made or not made.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, I think that's in some ways that's what art is for, though, is to like hold a mirror up to us. Um, that's how I feel about music a lot of times. Like, oh, I would have never thought about that, but I can definitely take that into my own life for sure. So I think it's good.
100%. You
Yeah.
gotta, I think the point of um music, at least from my perspective, and I've been in the scene for quite a long time, like I think it's important to have those moments where you reflect on things. And I think as I get older, it allows me to be like, okay, like what could I have done better as like, someone who's going to be in their 30s next year.
Hmm.
So I think that's kind of more relevant. I feel like music like this becomes more relevant to me as I get older. And so like
Hmm.
now I feel like now I'm getting to that point where like it's like self-reflection. And so I hope that this album at least puts the pen to the paper and is like, I could take a look at myself like in the camera and be like, listen, Brandon, you need to step your game up. So but I appreciate it. I know obviously what as an artist, I'm sure your intent is to make music, but I think that also at the same point, if you can affect someone's life, then that's this is the greatest achievement, I'd imagine.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's certainly the like reward, is to like see how music is, how the thing that you've made has gone out into the world and affected people's lives for sure.
Certainly.
Yeah.
The next question I have for you, Tyson, a fun one. I am very curious who you're gonna say for this, but in terms of influences, who kind of got you started out in music, or initially? Are there any sorts of bands or artists that you were like listening to, and you're like, it just created that spark in your head? And then, conversely, who influences your music now in terms of like your writing style, and what people know to be Tyson's music?
Yeah. Um, when I was a kid, I think I was like in eighth grade or something. And do you remember that? I don't even remember what it's called now. It had a name, but it was this like, I think it was a scam, but you could like get 20 CDs for a penny or something like this. Do you
Oh
remember this?
man. Oh man.
It was called. It had like three. Somebody's screaming at us to whatever the name is, but the
Let us know in
choices
the
were,
comments. We'll
yeah.
yeah, that'd be great.
But the choices were really good, and I just, my dad was like, "You can pick like five of these or whatever," and I picked just by the covers, and
As you do.
I ended up, yeah, and the stuff I got was so good. I got like, I think I got like one of the first. I got like Led Zeppelin 4, I think,
Ooh, all
and
right.
um, one of the Beach Boys, probably compilations, I think, which ended up
Nice.
being something that helped me love the Beach Boys. And then I got one of Beck's records, Beck's
Ooh.
Mutations album, which is an amazing record.
Nice, nice. All right.
Um, and one of the first Radiohead records. I think I got the Bends,
Ooh, okay. Yeah.
and I don't remember what else, but those were some of the first records that I remember having and being like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Music is so there's so much possibility in music. And then when I was in high school and college, I loved uh, Death Cab for Cutie, which is a
Ooh,
Seattle
yeah.
Seattle Heroes. I love that band. Still love that band. Um, and I think probably Ben Gibbard, who's the singer from Death Cab, is a big influence. I love how he writes about he's a very specific songwriter.
Mm-hmm.
He like writes about, and he writes in images, which I do a lot as well.
Mm-hmm.
So he's been a big actually the last like couple years I'm primarily like I listen to a lot of like instrumental music.
Ooh, okay.
Which is funny because the thing that I do is incredibly lyrical, but I just listen to a lot of instrumental music. And I sort of like split it up because I listen to lots of podcasts too, so I kind of like split it up. And like
Nice.
it's
All
music
right.
with not that much words, and then
All words.
all words.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The dichotomy of man, you know.
exactly. I was like, this is too much altogether. It's honestly like I've been thinking a lot about this, especially putting music up, but it's a really overwhelming time to love music right now.
Oh,
It's
definitely. Yeah.
and like it's hard because like, and I actually work with like I teach some songwriting classes for like high school and college kids,
Oh,
and
very
it's
cool.
fun to talk to them because they have so much stuff that they love, and it's cool to
Can
see
imagine.
what they love. New music, but it's like there's just so much music coming out all the time, and it's also like the way that I grew up, and I'm assuming you as well, but things were like split into scenes. So like I knew
Oh,
that if I
yeah.
loved Yeah, so like I knew that if I loved emo, like I would go listen to these bands, and they would all tour together, and they'd be on this record label. And if I wanted to listen to like indie rock, I'd go over here and listen to that. And if I wanted to listen to like jam bands, I'd go over here. And like I just knew where things were,
Sections.
and I knew like, yeah, they were sectioned out. I was like, okay, if I'm going to listen to classic rock, I'll go over here. And now it's like it feels like everything is all in this giant pot, and it's hard for me to differentiate between it. But it is also, it's more easy than ever. It's easier than ever to find new music.
Oh,
It's
yes.
just like, or like, at least like, to access it. But then there's so much. It's like it's hard to find. But it's really fun when you find a new band. There's this band called Beach Fossils that I like a lot. That influenced this record a lot. A band called Porches that I like a
Ooh,
lot
yeah.
too. So it's fun to find that stuff. Also, like I've been digging through like really old stuff too, like Exotica and old jazz standards. And there's a record store here in town called Folk Arts, which
Oh, cool.
it's like a bunch of guys with handlebar mustaches that'll tell you like what you never knew.
We love
So,
this. We love to see it. That's
yeah.
I respect that. I definitely resonate with just having a lot of music. Like that's like I can't tell the people enough like how many emails I get from like anything from like tech death metal to like, folk, like
Mm-hmm.
bluegrass kind of stuff and everything in
Right.
between. And
Mm-hmm.
my job as an interviewer is to try to muddle my way through the weeds and try to find some
Mm-hmm.
bands that I'm just like, this is what I like, this is who I want to
Yeah.
have on the show. And like obviously I would love to have everybody on, but
Mm-hmm.
I also feel like I would have to live like 5 lives over to get anywhere close to getting everybody that I've ever wanted on the channel. So I try to
Well, yeah.
build a bridge.
Well, and probably part of the reason why people trust you is because there is so much stuff that you're doing some of the heavy lifting for the people
Yeah.
that trust you. It's like, oh, if he if he likes this, then probably I will too. I think it's important. People like you are important.
Thank you. I coming from you, Tyson, I really do appreciate that because I feel like, I'm gonna have back problems in my like early 50s, because I've been carrying all the weight of, trying to hold down a YouTube channel. I'm gonna probably
So,
enlist my kids to like find new music, when I am of the age to have kids and,
yeah.
have a family. So I'll be like, son, what, or daughter, what are we listening to, and then do that. And
Yeah.
then they'll be like, Dad, leave me alone. And I'll be like, okay, good.
Yeah.
But it is difficult, but I always find it to be a challenge because at least for me for the past couple years, and I think, over quarantine, like I had so much time to find bands, like,
Mm-hmm.
and more time than I think I have ever had, my entire life living. And I've always tried to like search for just I don't want to say the most obscure stuff, but certainly stuff that isn't in most people's wheelhouses. And
Right.
I think that there is a importance to branch out as an interviewer and try to get different bands on. And so, I've been doing I've always loved indie, but now getting into that indie space where I'll have like more indie artists on, and I've been really getting into folk music, so I've been trying to get
Mm-hmm.
into that lane and like that space. And rap, I'm hoping to eventually get into that space. Like I've had some rap artists on the channel before, but obviously not to the
Mm-hmm.
furthest extent. And so I think it's important as an interviewer to have that kind of barometer on what comes out despite what genre it is, because
Mm-hmm.
I think music collectively is great. And so there's always a good artist out there just waiting to be discovered, or, turned over underneath a rock somewhere, where you're like, you know what, I'll have to, at the very least, I'd love to just give it a listen. And when, like I said, when Shane messaged me and I was just like, I'm like, this is indie. I'm about indie. Let me see if I enjoy this. And then just really connected. And then I was just like, Shane, brother, let's do it. So, that was to
Awesome.
me like, when I can find an artist and it resonates with me, that's when I really try to like really, extra have them on. Like I really try to push for it. So, again, Tyson, appreciate for joining us. But in terms of the influences, like I could definitely hear like some older classic rock kind of influences, like you said, the Beach Boys. I feel like there's definitely some like, little sprinkle, a little sprinkle of some
Mm-hmm.
Beach Boys in there. And then definitely Death Cab for Cutie was like one of the ones that I like initially thought of. And then kind of as well too, I know the band's flag movements over here, like they kind of have more of that. I mean, they used to be in that post-hardcore space, but then kind of got into like the alt and rock and indie sort of
Mm-hmm.
space there. And I feel like you got a little bit of that vibe there going there, especially more so in their I would say like softer, like more, indie-ish sort of sound. So you kind of check all the boxes for me in terms of the vibes. I grew up, my parents are, I'm more specifically, my mom loves the Beach Boys. So I was like, I was like, okay, Tyson, I was listening to it, here at the desk,
Yeah.
and I was like, all right, this is in the wheelhouse, certainly. So I want to give you props for feeling, taking some of that older influence that I feel like most people wouldn't maybe necessarily come to that conclusion of, but also at the same point kind of pulling from like, more modernish, like emo indie kind of that vibe. So I think you kind of hit that nice stride point between like pop indie and like a little smidge of emo music.
Totally.
So
I'm pro emo.
pro emo. You heard it here first,
Pro
guys.
emo.
Tyson is pro emo. But the next question I have for you, Tyson, kind of in the same lane. I always love asking this because, as you mentioned, music is always ever growing. There's always bands coming out that you get to discover. So I'm curious, who have you been listening to recently? What's on the Spotify? Give me some musical suggestions. This is the Tyson musical suggestion portion of this interview.
I'm gonna pull my playlist up here.
All right, all right.
I just made a new playlist.
We'd love to see
Um,
it. We'd love to see it.
yeah, yeah.
Listen, you didn't
Let's
have to
see
make a new
here.
playlist for me. I appreciate the dedication.
Yeah, I've been on a big yacht rock kick lately.
All right, all right, okay, okay.
I love me some yacht rock, like Steely Dan and the Doobie
Yeah.
Brothers.
All right, all right, yeah.
I'm into that. Let's see here. I just made this playlist. Here we go. Let's see what's on this thing. I've been. Do you know Brandon Flowers from The Killers?
I do, yes. As a resident emo, yeah.
Yet, his solo record, it's called The Desired Effect, is amazing.
All right, I'll have to give it a listen.
Love that. Yeah. It's been called The Japanese House. I like that
Yes,
a
oof.
lot.
Bless.
Daywave. That's another band I really like.
Ooh.
It's really interesting stuff. It's kind of like sort of lo-fi, but it's like lo-fi
Ooh.
indie rock in a really cool
Okay.
way.
Okay.
I like
You already
that.
signed me up. You said lo-fi. I'm about it. You know. I'm about it. I'm about
I
it.
like this. Yeah, I like this band called Bibio a lot. I just put them on there. Some old LCD sound system.
Ooh.
This band called Michigander. It's a friend
Ooh.
of mine he lives in Nashville now. He's from Michigan originally. I like their stuff a lot. Do you know? Have you heard of this guy named Leif Vollebeck?
I have not. No, I'll have to go check him out.
If you're getting into the folk stuff, that is amazing. It's especially his first record. It's called Twin Solitude.
Okay.
That record is unbelievable. It's like 3-piece band the whole time. Kind of like it'd be like a lot of like whirly bass keys or
Ooh.
whirly bass drums type thing, and the songs are so good, and it's the way that it's recorded is like really really cool. So that's another one. I would say I would start with Leif Volbeck. I love him. I
Okay.
actually just saw him play in LA a few months ago, and it was amazing.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I was talking about this with another guest I had on last week, and I was just saying how much of a fan I am and have been probably for the past couple years of like Julian Baker,
Yeah.
Phoebe Bridgers, my man, my love, City and Color, that kind of like, that just like, it just hits you right in the chest. And then you're like, man, I could be really sad right now, but they're just singing me into like a bliss, So if you guys have any suggestions for me that cover that sort of gamba of music, in the comments, I will personally go out and go listen to it. But
Yeah.
I'm all about those bands right now. Love me some of that indie folky kind of stuff. But the next question I have for you, Tyson, a fun one. I'm sure this has crossed your mind a couple different times. But if you could pick a song to cover, what would it be?
Oh, nice. I was trying to convince my band to cover the song Nookie by Limp Bizkit for this next tour as a joke. Oh, did I lose you for a second?
Yeah, it froze, but I did hear it. It was a Limp Bizkit track, correct?
Yeah, I wanted to cover Nookie by Limp Bizkit.
I feel like you have to do it now since you've talked about it.
Well, I was so excited about it, and I was going to do it in this really like annoyingly sophisticated way where we were going to have like a bunch of arrangements, and it was going to be like 4-part harmonies and stuff. But
I'm about it.
I was so excited to cover Limp Bizkit, but then my keyboard player told me he would quit. And my keyboard player is very important to our live show, so I was like,
can't lose him.
He said I will not go on tour with you if you cover Nookie. We covered on the last tour. We covered Your Love, The Outfield. If you know that song, it's an 80s song.
Yes. Oh wow. All right. Yeah.
That was really fun. I like covering 80s songs a lot. I think like especially 80s songs that are like kind of electronic, but you do them like a little bit more organic. That's a lot of fun.
I like that. That's a hot one. I definitely dig it. I remember, this is probably going to age me very poorly, but I remember that this band called Icy Stars did a cover of that same song. And I was just like, man, I really love this song. And then I went back and listened to the original, and I was like, that song's also actually very good too. So then,
it's an amazing song.
It's a very amazing song. Yeah, and it's sad it's a one-hit wonder, but it is what it is, and now people get to enjoy it in different ways. So I like that choice. I mean, obviously, I feel like just for the humor aspect, and also just I need to know like how this song was arranged. I feel like I gotta say Nookie by Limp Bizkit would be probably, especially from like an indie band that like you wouldn't. I feel like if I had lived in California, I saw you guys play and you did that cover, this would be me. This would be my reaction. I'd hear it and be like, what is this what am I hearing this guy and what he's telling me, so I gotta, no offense to your keyboard player, but because I obviously want you to keep your keyboard player. But
Yeah, I'm gonna tell him that you disagree, though. I'll call him right after this.
well, guys, if you'd like to weigh in on the comments, or if you want to suggest a cover song that will not kick Tyson's keyboard player out, drop
Yeah,
him in the comments. I'm sure he would love the suggestion, and who knows
yeah.
if you see him. There we go. I think we're losing you here, Tyson. Yeah, you're currently you're currently on a freeze frame right now, so I'm waiting for the video to resurface here. Oh, we got a moment here. All right. Oh,
There we are. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. It just this is you're gonna rewatch this, or I may or may not cut it out because it's frame by frame here, and we've gotten some really good frames. Okay, now we're knock on wood. We're good. Anyway, guys, comment below what Tyson should cover. Totally did not, cut out a portion of this interview for trying to keep Tyson in check here. But
There you go.
the next question I have for you, Tyson, if you were to have a dream guest of person on an up and coming Tyson Motsenbocker record, who would you love to have on?
Oh man, any dream guest?
Any dream guest?
I mean, I'd probably pick like. That's a good question. I'd probably pick like Dylan or something. Dylan or maybe like Bonnie Raitt.
Ooh, okay.
That'd be cool.
All right.
Emmy Lou Harris. These are living people.
Yes.
Something like that would be fun. Or Brian Wilson from the Beach Boys. That would be.
I'll petition for Brian Williams. I would like that. That'd be cool.
Mm-hmm.
So, guys, I don't know if Brian Williams has a Twitter account, but I definitely feel like Tyson does. So if you want to just, shout it from the rooftops that Tyson Motsenbocker and Brian from the Beach Boys should do a collaborative track, then you do that. And you make sure people know about it on Twitter, because then, that's the most important thing. And then, I'm a firm believer in manifestation. So, I'm just going to put my belief, in that it's going to happen, put it out in the universe. So, once it happens, I just want like a little liner credit in the song, that's it. That's all I request. So that would be very cool. But it would make Tyson look so happy right now. And listen, you wouldn't want to ruin his happiness if you couldn't let that happen. So let's do it.
There you go.
Next question, Tyson. Obviously, as I can tell, you have a ton of musical gear behind you, and I'm sure you play a ton of musical instruments. But if there was another one you could master, what would it be? Oh, we lost him again.
Oh.
We're working it. We're working it here. Oh, are we? Oh, all right. All right. Came back for a hot frame.
Are you there?
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
still here.
It's gonna work now. My
Oh. Oh boy. Oh, no.
Are you there?
I'm still here. Tyson.
Now you can hear me?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I can see you. Can you see me? Are we good? There we go.
Yes, we're good.
All right. I think we're good now.
You were in the middle of saying something.
My phone died, and my phone died, and it was on the hotspot, and that's why we got kicked off that. So it should be good now.
There we go. We'd love to see it. But the question I had asked was, you have a ton of musical instruments behind you. If there was another one you could master, what would it be?
Oh, for sure, the cello.
Ooh, okay. Very cool.
I would love to play the cello. I actually bought one. There's a cello over here, but it's really hard. And I tried to learn it over the pandemic. I can kind of play it, but not very well. I would want to actually be able to play that.
I feel that. I picked up a bass over quarantine, and I'm not gonna say I haven't used it, but I definitely could use a little, a little dusting off, and could be used a little bit more. So I'm hoping that I get around to doing that. The next question I have for you, Tyson, if you were to compile a dream tour lineup, including yourself, who would you love to tour with?
Man. There's a band called Dawes that I really love. I'd like to go on tour with them.
Okay.
I also like this band called the Fleet Foxes. I'd go on tour with them.
They're awesome.
What else? I actually like the sort of like big theater stuff is my favorite. I don't think I would want to do like a stadium tour.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
The question I have for you, Tyson, I don't know if we left off or if you were going to continue your dream tour. We could go over it again. What would be your dream tour lineup, including yourself?
I said the first one I said was Dawes, and then I said the Fleet Foxes. But I also really love My Morning Jacket a lot. I think it'd be fun to tour with them.
Yes.
That would be a favorite. Yeah. I think something in that world would be really fun.
I agree, guys. Get your pre-sale tickets now. Just saying, you don't want to miss out.
Yeah, I just announced the tour this morning, actually.
Yeah,
so we're going on tour.
We're getting on it right now, immediately. Yeah. So make sure.
You never know if My Morning Jacket's just going to be there. You can never know.
You can never be assured that it's going to happen, but you can't say it's not going to happen. So. Yeah.
That's right. That's exactly right.
There you go. Well, guys, be on the lookout. We're very excited. We're very excited here for Tyson. But the next question I have for you, Tyson, another fun one. Favorite TV show, favorite movie?
Good question. Favorite TV show ever? Man, that's a hard question. Remember that show Lost?
Oh, you're the second person that's talked about this. This is great. This is like back to back. I'm almost positive. Somebody else said Lost like very recently. Not even joking.
Lost is awesome, especially when you were watching. Like I remember I was watching it like when the episodes were coming out every week or whatever, and you're like what are these? Like what's this island?
At the edge of your seat.
Island? Yeah. I like that show. My wife and I are watching Only Murders in the Building right now.
Ooh,
have you heard of that show?
Yes, I want to start watching
Steve Martin Short. It's awesome. That show's great. I'm actually not a super big TV guy, but I like those ones a lot. There's lots of great TV shows. Favorite movie. My favorite movie for sure is the movie Roadhouse with Patrick Swayze.
Yes.
My second favorite movie is the movie Point Break with Keanu Reeves and Patrick Swayze.
I'm noticing a trend.
My third favorite movie is probably Dirty Dancing with Patrick Swayze.
There's something's there, There's certainly a trend going on there. I don't know.
Honorable mention would be this movie called Donnie Darko with Jake Gyllenhaal and also Patrick Swayze. Yeah. Those are all good movies.
Totally there's no correlation to all four of those movies.
They're just great movies.
They are.
No correlation. There's nothing tying those movies together. They just all randomly, all four of those are just some of my favorites.
Can agree. I again resonate with all of those movies, for a specific reason, but can't put my finger on it.
Yeah.
I will say shout outs to John of the band Keep Flying. He was the other guy that mentioned Lost. So
nice.
You and John will connect, virtually, So
yeah, we can watch Lost together.
There we go. Awesome. We'll have a Lost watch party, guys, on Discord. So come hang out. We'll watch Lost from season 1 till the end. So keep your eyes peeled for that. The next question I have for you, Tyson, speaking about islands, if you were stuck on an island for the next month and there was one album you could bring with you to listen to, what album would you bring?
Honestly, I would probably bring this album called Ingaya, Engya, by this band called Helios. It's not even a band really; it's kind of just a guy, but it's instrumental, and I think it's my favorite record.
Ooh,
it's an amazing record. It's a specific kind of album. Like, you have to listen to it. It's really quiet. It's really vibey, but it's beautiful, and I think that's probably my favorite album, and it's probably my Desert Island record also.
Ooh, all right. I like that. Picking the instrumental choice. That's I feel like that's a very interesting, like, ideology, but I respect it, because
Mm-hmm.
I feel like as a guitar player, I've gotten more into instrumental music as a whole. I don't know if you've heard of this band, but I'll definitely recommend them to you if you're more into like the rock kind of vibes. I would check out this band called Intervals. If you haven't heard of them.
Intervals.
Yes.
Not Interpol.
Not Interpol. Intervals.
Intervals.
Correct.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'll check it out.
They're...
What's your Desert Island record?
Ooh, that is tough. For the sake of keeping it same, or if not, I'll definitely be adding another choice to the list here. But I would say the most influential record on my life was the Seosin self-titled record. So I would say that is my Desert Island record. I've probably listened to that album as many times as I could possibly listen to it. I know it from front to back. And it just makes me remember as being kind of like in my teens and not really, having anything to, I want to say keep me together, but like definitely like change my life in like the best way possible. So I would have to say that album is super influential on my life. I met Cove, who was the original vocalist of that album, and I told him how much it meant to me, and he was like, listen, next time you're at a show, bring it and I will sign it for you. So Cove, I'm not holding out on that. I still want to get that album signed. So but yeah, that one to me, I would say, is my Desert Island record, and is probably, if not my favorite record of all time. So
nice.
There we go. The last thing, Tyson, that I like to kind of cap the interviews off with, for those of you who have stuck around to the end, much love you guys so much. What do you want people to take away from Tyson Motsenbocker and your new album Milk Teeth, or just collectively, what do you want people to know about you in terms of your music, your personality, what you do, just as a musician? Like, what do you want people to understand about you?
It's a good question.
Thank
what
you.
do I want people to understand about me? I want people to understand that I think ultimately what I'm doing is that I want to make things that are beautiful and that become part of people's lives.
Sure, yeah.
I want to make people that are too comfortable uncomfortable, and I want to make people that are uncomfortable more comfortable. I want to like kind of move people on their spectrum of comfort.
Sure, yeah.
And I want people to know that, like, I think that it's gonna turn out okay. That's part of it. I think that generally speaking, I just want to put something into the world that's like reassuring, especially like in the face of things that are unknown.
Sure.
That's my basic answer. Also, I want people to know that if you see a film with Patrick Swayze listed on it, there's a very good chance that it's going to be one of the best films ever made. That's another thing.
I just want to say that your answer is very much a dichotomy of man. You're very like pro your music, and you're also very pro Patrick Swayze. So yeah. I gotta give you respect for that. The salutes, respect.
Thank you. Those are the two, like, the first thing I said about like like meaning and comfort and stuff, and then also Patrick Swayze. I want those two things together.
Those two things are synonymous. So I feel if you listen to a Tyson Motsenbocker record, you not only feel the warm embrace of Tyson's music, but it's also like if Patrick Swayze in Ghost was like around you and was teaching you how to mold
Mm.
pottery, you know. So
You
again,
know,
references. I know the Patrick
that was
Swayze
good.
stuff.
Somebody had to bring Ghost in here. You really nailed it.
Well, listen, I had to nail it home for the Patrick Swayze fans that wind up watching this video. So,
There you go.
but no, for real, I did, like, as I mentioned closer to the top of the show, like I did really feel this correlation to, and I really resonate with what you said now about like wanting to move and shake people in a way that, you know, will, have them think about some of the things that they've done, whether it's, for good or for bad reasons. I mean, obviously we all hope it's for good reasons, but like, there's things that you can reflect on, in a positive way. And I feel like that has allowed me, at least, obviously I could talk about myself in that regard of listening through half this record and kind of feeling that way of like, yeah, maybe, maybe I should try to understand the other way that someone else goes about something that maybe, I didn't quite understand, or like, maybe unlock or tap into an emotion that maybe I wasn't really feeling at the time, but now because I'm older and have more experience and living life, that I can kind of look back on it and be like, what, I was wrong about that. And I think it gives you an opportunity to inner reflect, as like most music does. But I really felt, like I said, a correlation to Milk Teeth, and I'm hoping that you guys feel the same as well, with it. But I'll let the floor be transported over to Tyson here. Tyson, tell the people where they can find you at on social media, what you have coming up in the next couple weeks, obviously where they can pick the album up from, and any other Patrick Swayze knowledge that you would like to drop on us before we say goodbye.
Okay. Yeah, my name is Tyson Motsenbocker. I am on all the social medias. So Instagram, I primarily am on Instagram. I'm on Twitter a little bit. I'm on the other ones some too. Not really on Facebook. I have a new album coming out. It's called Milk Teeth, and it's out in September 24th. And I have a headlining tour as well that goes pretty much everywhere west of. Actually, we're not going to Philly yet, but we will go there. We will go there, but not quite yet. We're going west of Atlanta, basically.
Ah.
And then we'll do Atlanta and East next time. You can pick the record up on my website, which is TysonMotsenbocker.com, or the Tooth and Nail website, or literally anywhere probably. Let's see here. Patrick Swayze knowledge. Probably my favorite Patrick Swayze scene is in Point Break when he helps Keanu Reeves fight off the Red Hot Chili Peppers. And he karate kicks one of them really beautifully. It's a great moment. It's maybe the greatest moment in cinema history, actually.
Oh my god. I can't. This couldn't have been the best way to end off an interview. Such knowledge coming from, I'm just gonna put Tyson Motsenbocker, Patrick Swayze aficionado in the title of this video, so everybody knows that you're the aficionado of anything Patrick Swayze. So respect.
I'm happy to talk about it.
Yeah, we did talk about it, and that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So I appreciate I appreciate it. Anyway, if you want to go support Tyson Motsenbocker just so he can tour around the world, and when he plays a live show, he can tell you funny tidbits on stage about Patrick Swayze in your neck of the woods. What you do is you go in the link in the description and go check out Tyson Motsenbocker. Go pick up his new record, Milk Teeth, that comes out on September the 23rd. And you might be graced with some beautiful Patrick Swayze knowledge that you didn't know of. Probably, there's so much information that I don't know about Patrick Swayze that I hope Tyson tells me when I'm out on tour seeing him, that I will already be buying a ticket for a Philadelphia show that doesn't exist yet, because I know Tyson's going to give me so much information about Patrick Swayze. So if you want to be knowledgeable about him and also Patrick Swayze, then
Hmm.
you can go see him at a local show, and he will
There you
provide
go.
you with that information.
Exactly.
I am not able to provide Patrick Swayze information to you, but I will tell you, if you like the video, like, comment, subscribe. It goes a long way. Again, huge shout out to Shane for setting this up, and massive thank you to our resident Patrick Swayze connoisseur here. I was trying to think of the word because it was just Patrick Swayze's in my head now.
Yeah.
Tyson Motsenbocker for coming on tonight.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. It was a pleasure chatting with you.